Let me know when it goes, Mr. Dixon.
So we need to share it.
Yeah, you might not have to, but you may have to. When it goes live, you should be able to tell if it's on your
Okay.
page. On your if your page is private, then no, you're gonna have to share it. Did you check to see if we were live, Mr. Dixon?
I'm looking, and I
It
don't see
shows
it
that
yet.
we're live for me.
Oh,
You
really?
sure it's
Oh
live?
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I don't see it in the
Awesome,
notification.
Yeah,
awesome.
me too.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome,
Evening.
welcome. You guys share and share on your pages for the show for tonight. We got some awesome guests in the building. We got a new face in the building tonight. And we got a few usual suspects in the building. We won't call them out just yet. All right. All right. How is everybody
Get down.
doing? Hope everybody's doing amazing. Everybody had a great day today?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Awesome.
All right. That's what's up. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get crunk, you guys. What we first do when we get started, everybody, is we usually say a quick word of prayer just to acknowledge our Creator before we get started, okay? So we're going to do that real quick, and then we're going to get started, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to share again with these, your incredible people. We appreciate you choosing us on this platform to be a sounding board to help us all to deal with our relationships and become better stewards of the people that you grace us with in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, somebody's device is like echoing.
Amen.
Yeah, it's Wi-Fi. Yeah, somebody got something on.
Okay.
Make sure if you're looking at the show
Yeah,
through
I put
another
the
device,
volume
just turn it down. Yeah, just turn it
Yeah, just turn the volume down.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So we're going to do the introductions. I'm super excited. Charles and I have been on this marathon for the past 72 hours, and it's coming to a close tonight. This is the last night of the three-day revival, if you will. Super excited to have everybody on. I know everybody has real hectic schedules, especially with these published international authors we got in the building tonight. So we want to start off with our newest member of the panel. Ladybug, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do, where you from.
Absolutely. I'm Tennille Jackson, and I'm out of Chicago. I do a lot, but specifically, you can pretty much sum it up by saying literary is my life. So I am a national and international award-winning author. I'm a publisher. I'm a bookstore owner. I am the founder of Artists Promoting Success, which is an organization that pretty much specializes in helping indie authors and entrepreneurs, educating them on the business of being an entrepreneur. So we can just wrap it up right there because I do a lot. Literary pretty much is my life.
All right,
Nice.
the literary department. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Well, welcome to the panel. We appreciate you coming on tonight. So gracious that you accepted our invitation to be on. We appreciate you. Next, we have my friend of like 20-something years plus. Oh my God, we so grown up. We have my friend who is now officially a published author doing some incredible things out of the Atlanta area. Miss Thang over there with that hair all fly. Go ahead and tell them who you are and what you do.
Hello, I'm Denise Powell, and I'm the author of Welcome to the A Smart ATLian's Guide to Life in Metro Atlanta. I am also the CEO of DP Global Media, which is a full-service media company. You need commercial writing services or commercial videos or photos. That's what we're all about. And we have an International Unity Day coming up in a few months. So look forward to getting you all involved in that.
Absolutely. Hit me up. I know I meant to ask you about that, but hit me up. I'll see if I can adjust my schedule and make my way up back over to the A.
You will love it.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have another suspect in the building out of H-Town. One of my great friends, one of my educator buddies, been knowing him for about 8 years now since I got to the Texas area. Super grateful for all that he's doing. My friend Dr. Woods is in the building. Dr. Woods, tell us who you are, what you do.
What's going on, man? I'm the Doc Woods. I do a little bit of everything. You know, pimping ain't easy, but it sure is fun.
Okay.
I'm an educator, about 15 years, doctor degree. My goal in life, is just educate the masses. Hey, everybody publishing books, look out for my book soon, my poetry book, Suicide
Wow.
Note of an Educated Black Man.
All
I'm working
right
on a couple little projects here and there. I got a wife and 3 kids. I love them, boo baby. I'm gonna try not to embarrass you. I just come out here to, say my little piece and try to make the world a better place for love.
I
No,
know
that's
that's
right.
right. I
No,
know
that's
that's
right.
right.
All
And
right.
out of Chicago,
All right.
our honored co-host, who is the host with the most, Mr. Dixon. Tell them who you are, what you're doing, and all that good stuff. Talk to us.
So by day, I work in the field of intellectual property law. On the, if I had to say on the side, I do a lot of singing, songwriting type stuff. I haven't done too much here lately, but it's been my forte for years. Aside from that, I am now moving in the space of this love and conflict world. I like solving problems, so I shifted from the corporate side of it to the personal side. That's all.
That's what's up. Okay. And you guys know, you already know who I am. I don't need no introduction, but we got another suspect in the building who just came through. We ain't doing the introductions. Bruce, tell them who you are, where you come from, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mr. Bruce Late.
Mr. Bruce Late.
What am I answering again? I'm sorry.
Who you are and what you do, sir. Who you are and what you do.
I'm Bruce Oliver. I own a small real estate holdings company.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bougie way of saying that I flip houses.
All right. You show right. You show right. But you guys know I'm P. Coffee Brown.
All right.
I dip and dab into a few things. Right now I'm working on some projects that I'm not at liberty to talk about just yet, but I'm working on some projects to really, really take this message of love and peace, to a different level. So super excited about that. I am a mother of 3 incredible people, 3 incredible humans. And I have 2 grown humans and one is about to be grown. So I'm getting ready to be an empty nester and it's going to be on and popping from there. So anyway, I'm super excited to be here with everybody tonight. We want to go ahead and get the show crunk. We have an interesting dialogue on tonight. I was talking to Mr. Dixon earlier about this particular concept. It's called Love and the Reset. How do we salvage what we have? Basically, the time that we live in, we're existing in a microwave society where everybody wants what they want, when they want it, where they want it, and they want it right now without any type of work. It's so crazy because I kind of look at even how these restaurants are preparing food. It's like we went to a restaurant here recently and the food came out so quick. I asked the lady, did y'all cook it or was it what's really going on? I was like, wow, I seriously get alarmed when food comes out too fast. I really do, truthfully. And so I think to myself, well, how did that, it's no way you could have prepared that quickly, so I kind of question things now as far as us getting stuff so quickly, whatever happened to the preparation process, getting to wherever you're going and kind of just taking it slow and things like that. So anyway, which fast forwards to this concept of relationships. And when we have the bumps and bruises in our relationships, do we just throw the person away? Or do we do what we can do to salvage that relationship? If we have some type of building block that's in place, do we salvage it or do we just throw the person away like we see so frequently now in the relationships that we've been seeing here? Not even on public and private, where people are just literally throwing each other away, going to the next one, throwing each other away, going to the next one. Can we salvage our relationships if we run into a hiccup? Can we hit the reset button and start over? Tanel, since you're new to the platform tonight, we're going to go ahead and baptize you by fire. Get you out here. Get you on out here. Go ahead.
I think generically speaking, the answer is yes. If you are in a relationship for any amount of time is because you've hit a reset button here or there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
there's nothing that's going to be easy. And so if you have made it 5 years, 10 years, you've had some type of hiccup and you've had to hit the reset button. It's not always, when we talk about infidelity, it's not always infidelity that is the cause for a reset. But there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to encounter in a relationship, whether it's financial struggles, whether it's communication issues. And so I think it's always going to boil back to the person having to say that whatever it is, if they want to salvage it. And it's not always, it's not always something that's going to be a universal yes or no.
Right. And I definitely agree with you with that. The next person I wanted to ask about this, with that, I'm glad you brought it out like that, Tanel, because I think a lot of people get this misnomer that the reset button only happens with like infidelity or money or some type of abuse or something like that. But there's so many different reasons why you need to reset. I pulled up a list of things and I want you guys to kind of elaborate on them. The first thing I got is trust issues, different expectations, Mr. or Mrs. Right or right now, narcissism. We have a lot of that going on. Bruce talked about that a couple weeks ago on another show that we had about dealing with the narcissism in our society, where it's all about me, me, me. Differences in priorities. And go back to what Tanel said, money, moving through life at different speeds. Charles was talking about that probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, how we don't have to necessarily go at the same pace, but we still have to be on pace. Then you have the compatibility issues and the communication issues. So Denise, what are some of your thoughts about resetting a relationship if you feel like it's able to be salvaged? What are some of the steps? How do you get there to where you need to salvage it anyway? What happens?
I think so many things boil down to either communication or the lack of communication. And from my experience, a lot of times we will stop talking about what's the things that can be uncomfortable or the things that we know are hot buttons for the other person. And so when you start to drift away from just going ahead and openly communicating and even talking about the hard stuff, that's where problems come in. And I feel like anytime that you kind of are just willing to put things out there and say, just as Iyanla says, call a thing a thing.
Right.
If you really have a problem with, say, some of the other person's kids, a lot of times teenagers just become, if everybody is if we have, it's our parents, you all probably can relate that when kids become teens, they start to change. They can become, whether they intend to or not, somewhat disrespectful, and especially of the other partner in a relationship. Those types of things can cause a problem. Things that you didn't even think were a problem when you got into a relationship can become issues, because as life goes on, change. The adults, everybody is constantly changing. And when we're not will discuss what we're dealing with, that's change. I feel like that's where we can really get into a whole lot of snags, and just it becomes a dishonest relationship when we're not talking.
And that's interesting when you talked about the hot buttons. I think Charles and Walter were talking about that when we had our impromptu this past Sunday, and they were talking about the challenges of being able to talk to a person without them going way off left or getting so high you can't bring them down and things like that. Bruce, talk to me about these attitudes, as far as the relational attitude where people feel like there's nothing wrong, but you clearly see that there's this big old red light saying stop and the person is still going. What goes on with that in the scope of the relationship, and do you really want to salvage it?
I think that piggybacking on what the sister just said, I think that we don't like having the uncomfortable conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, in order to salvage it, you got to have that uncomfortable conversation. And I think we had discussed before on one of the shows that we really don't. Our relationships are really not intimate ones.
Right.
They're really sexual relationships.
Mm.
And that's our form of communication. I upset you, I take you out to dinner, I knock it down a couple times and then we good.
Mm.
That's communication, as opposed to sitting with each other and being vulnerable enough to say, hey, look, I do not feel like the man. I feel like a little boy. I feel powerless. I feel ineffective. I feel no one is hearing me. I feel no one is respecting me. Instead of using that vulnerable language, we cover it up with anger or irritability or some kind of mask that stops us from being intimate and vulnerable and having the uncomfortable conversation. So even though we may want to salvage it, that unaddressed, the real issues that we're not addressing, it causes us to forfeit it.
Adrian, talk to us.
My first opinion, my first thought would be like, I don't think you really can reset a relationship. I'm kind of thinking of it more like a computer. You take it to the last working stage of your relationship because pressure makes diamonds. So reset to me is starting all over, and you can't. And because each problem, each dilemma, each cycle, everything has caused growth in your relationship and has molded you to grow stronger. So and you got to remember that. So even the bad times has made your relationship stronger if you decide to stay. I believe most people, we live in a selfish, petty society. Very selfish, very petty. If I can't have it, like it's Burger King, if I can't have it my way right away, I'm out the door.
Right.
And I said it before on the show that what happened to Mama, I'm saying Papa, no matter what, we stuck together. And somebody said, well, women know better now. Well, not really, because I'm not saying that, you got to take some kind of physical, emotional, social abuse, but everything is not a game killer, and you have to decide that this is what I want, and yes, this bad thing happened. Let's find out why it happened and move on. But but we hear things like, you got me out here looking like a fool, you betrayed me, you messed up once, a leopard can't change their spots, and whatever, local saying you want to come up with at the time, for men and women, and instead of saying, okay, this bad thing happened because of X. How do we fix X? And once you come to a fixing of X, moving on and past it. I've been married, it'll be 20 years in December. I love you, boo. But there's been some rocky times. And usually when it comes to a place of very rocky times, it's because nobody wants to budge. I look at it this way, I look at it that way. I'm not changing. It could be over money, it could be over sex, it could be over the kids. And when you get to that point where I'm not budging, it's like a bull in a china shop. You're just gonna keep butting heads, you're gonna keep going this way. And so eventually somebody has to say, okay, where did we lose it? And how can we find a new direction?
So technically you can reset. You just can't reset the whole thing, but you can go back and say, where did we find something wrong, and say, "Whoop, let's reset that," and go back and basically identify where we fell short to get to where we are, so that we won't go back here again.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the last save point. I'm a gamer. I play my video games. I was playing it before I got on here. You see Ninja Turtles in the back. So I'm gonna call it the last save point. Because as a kid, you reset your Nintendo, right?
Right.
You gotta hit that and go to that last save point.
Yeah.
Right.
Good stuff.
Right. That's good stuff that you just said, because that is very true. When I was doing my research, there's a lot, believe it or not, there's a lot of information about resetting relationships. that is out there, all kinds of books and stuff like that, and there's some authorities on it. There's one guy, I can't his name escapes me right now, but he's been known to really help people to salvage their relationships through crisis, like major crises, to help people to really get back together and not destroy the foundation. Because long as the foundation is there, the house can be destroyed, but if that foundation is there, you can rebuild on it. You can rebuild on it. I went through that when I lost my home. My home burned down to the ground completely. We lost everything. And the interesting part about it was, although the house burned down, the foundation was still sitting there. And all we did was rebuild another house right on top of that same foundation after that whole thing burnt to the ground. And I was thinking about that today. I was like, wow, we weren't able to necessarily salvage stuff from that, but we were able to salvage the foundation and rebuild in the same place. So that was another thing that I thought about, when you think about salvaging a relationship, you don't have to choose another person. It's kind of like the situation with Job. If you ever read the book of Job, or some people say Job, he literally went through all that stuff, right? But he never changed spouses. You never heard anything about him getting a new wife. Even though she told him to curse God and die, she was talking out the side of her head. She was acting an absolute fool through the process that he was going through. This is a perfect example of a reset. And he still ended up married to that same woman, and he was benefited double for his trouble after he had gone through all the chaos, calamity, and all the things that he experienced. But the reset still left him with that same woman he was with initially. Mr. Dixon, talk to us about relationship salvage. I know that you spoke candidly before one time about long-term commitments and all of the little variables that happen with them. And what is one thing that you can say that is one major thing that causes the setback in a relationship, outside of necessarily communication, but one major thing that can cause a setback in a relationship?
I know we always go to the obvious of infidelity, but aside from infidelity, there's always the issue of someone not feeling special. And it's like over time, if you're not giving a person attention, over time, that kind of, and you know what, I've seen people come across as if the lack of attention hurt more than infidelity. Because it's saying the infidelity, I get it, she's pretty. But the lack of attention is, you don't think I'm pretty. So what's wrong with me? So that affects their personal person. The cheating part is what I'm doing. I'm not physically, that's my action. It may affect her if she's aware of it, but it's happening with me. But with her, but withholding the attention is affecting her. Now it's like, you not only you mistreat me, but I'm feeling like I'm not even attractive. What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? And so so you have to say to yourself, when you have a wreck, so to speak, I'll call it a wreck. So think about it in the sense of a car. When you have a wreck, you have to take it to the claim adjuster, to the body shop, and let's see now the level of the damage. And in some cases, you can say, hey, this is salvageable, Bruce, we can fix this, and the car will be fine. And in some cases, they're going to say, based on everything you told me, Mr. Dixon, and all the level of distrust that I think is, and the damage of how P. Coffee was talking, I think we're going to have to make this a total loss. Let this go. You know what I'm saying? So it depends. But think about how you see cars now. And you here's the thing. This is kind of a contradicting point, but I'll see a lot of cars and they'll look nice. And you look in there, I'm like, why is this car so cheap? This is a 2017, 18. Then it'll say, it'll say title salvage. So it's letting you know this car has been reset. It's been reset. It's cheap. It's lowering the value though. So you have to kind of choose your battle. But it is lowering the value, and it's letting you know this car, we did restore it, but we're letting you know there may be some frame damage. P. Coffee may not be the same. You understand what I'm saying? The trust situation.
Why you got to use me as an example? Why you got to use me as an example?
You ever hear that though? But you ever hear that?
Why I got to be in the salvage yard?
I see that old cap on your arm. But no, but anyway, so listen. But Adrian made a good point though. When Adrian talks about he doesn't look at it as resetting, I kind of agree with him, because I think about it, if you're going to start something over. Instead of starting it over and then going back, you need to start anew. So if you think about when you're rehabbing a home, yeah, here's this home with this nice edifice, but they go in and they tear everything down and they make everything new, except there's something in there of value that they don't want to miss. Other than that, they do it all over new. So the whole resetting part is fine, I guess, but it takes you back down some memories you don't want to necessarily revisit. So the new process, we can just build on these things, communicate about what's bothering you, and let's work towards changing this so that we don't have to revisit those old flashbacks that don't make us feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then I think too, even with the redirection and going in a different direction, you're still dealing with the same human. So
Correct.
a lot of times the challenges, the memory is there
Yes.
because it's the same human. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So you have to be able to manage your thoughts as well. Not
But
only
here,
your
This thing,
actions, but your
this thing
thoughts
goes
about
back
that
to that whole
person.
thing of it goes back to that whole thing of forgive and forget. No one
yeah,
honestly forgives and forgets.
Right. You
So
can't
right,
what
forget.
you got to do is people they forgive and they don't forget and they look. If you look for something wrong, you're always going to find something wrong. So the problem
That's
is
good.
we forgive or we say we forgive or I forgive you for what you did.
right,
Now it's on my mind. So every action you make brings me back to what I'm supposed to forget and forgive about. Even the Bible says, even if you
Mm-hmm.
got to forgive every day, it's everyday process. Everybody thinks forgiveness is a one-time action. No,
no,
sometimes you got to forgive every day until you get past this.
Right.
You know, it's an
Right.
everyday process, and you
Right.
can't go out looking for it. So if let's say I was saying what had infidelity, or I was no, that's not say just say gambling. I had a gambling problem. So just because I had to work late today, you can't say, oh, you say you working late, but you probably out there gambling because you really didn't get past our issue. You still looking for the bad in me instead of just looking at the good in me and
That's
believing
good.
in me.
That's very,
Yeah.
very true. And that coincides with having the maturity to control your mind. Because if you don't control your mind, your mouth is going to tell your story anyway. So especially when it comes to being a woman, um, and I can't speak for all women, but I can speak for the global as pertains to what we know is documented. Women tend to talk a lot, and we tend to have these attitudes about stuff and kind of lash out at our mates. You know, you should have did this and you should have did that and blah 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 and blah 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 blah. So, and then it's really biblical because there is something that we were talking about on Sunday night about the nagging female. There's no scripture that says there's a nagging man. So evidently there's something to be said about us as a body as to how we respond to adversity and conflict when it comes to our relationships, which is something that as a woman we have to master and take control of. It's not that we can't control it. We can master it, take control of it, and take authority over it so we don't have to succumb to it and contribute to the demise of the relationship. If we really want it to work, we can make it work. We got a lot of comments in here, guys. I'm going to go to the comments if that's okay with everybody real quick. Kamisha
Okay.
says, in a marriage, you do what you can. It depends on the hiccup. She also says, some things you can't reset. Jessica says, amen. Your relationship will reset every 3 to 5 years. Life happens. Kelly says, trust is the biggest factor in the reset realm. You got Lisa saying, communication is key in every relationship. Kamisha says again, there are 5 points to keep a healthy relationship. I'm sure she wrote it down in here somewhere. Darlene says, if you don't start off as friends and are able to talk about any and everything, not insecure with yourself, not coming up into a relationship with baggage, you cannot reset. That's so true. And then Kamisha put on here, because the uncomfortable conversations are necessary. And then Jarvis said, true, but often lack of trust prevents people from being intimate and vulnerable. You basically do not trust your partner with your true vulnerability. Lisa says, I disagree. Reset does not always mean start from where you were. She's responded to Adrian. What about reset your thought process? That's interesting because I said that. I didn't even read her statement. Reset how you do things, how you communicate. Kelly says, in order to reset, you must go into a completely new set of eyes and mindset. Without it, it's a waste of time. Fine 29 says, people are quick to reach their tolerance limit and walk away instead of truly examining the heart of the issue and doing the work it takes as individuals and as a couple to surmount it. Talk about that, Tanel. This is a good comment. People are quick to reach their tolerance limit and walk away instead of truly examining the heart of the issue. What does that mean when you talk about the heart of an issue? What does that really mean?
It's so many ways that you can start with that, right? Like sometimes I think it's easy for, and I'm not talking about this particular person who made the comment, but I think sometimes it's really easy for people who are not in relationships to talk about the hypothetical of what they would do or what they should do based upon what the Bible says. And it's one thing to know what the Bible says, and it's a whole nother thing to live what the Bible says. And so it's like when you're in a relationship, it's going to be a lot of things that happens. Even to Adrian's point about the reset, you can reset, and even in the forgive and forget part, right? Like a person has to, yes, I can say I forgive you, but in order for me to forget, that means that you have to start doing actions that's going to be opposite of what put my mindset to be in that place to begin with. You see what I'm saying? Like we always put, and what I hear a lot is always put on the woman. The woman should be able to take up for the man, and the woman shouldn't talk too much, and the woman shouldn't do this, and the woman shouldn't do that. But in a relationship, it should be equal responsibility. If you don't want for me to nag all the time, then you should be, if we're having a communication, then I shouldn't be faulted for nagging if you don't give me something to nag about. So in other words, if I ask you, going to Adrian's example about gambling, so like, okay, if he had a gambling problem, first of all, when did I find out about it? Was that something that was brought on early upon, or did I end up stumbling on it? You see what I'm saying? And then once I find out about his gambling problem, like, did he immediately the next day stay after work again? Because the point is that your actions have to change as well. If you want to reestablish or reset trust that was lost, then you can't just put the responsibility on the person. Oh, you should just forgive me, and you should just trust that I'm going to do it. Now your actions have to speak that I want to gain your trust again. And so many times it's like a lack of responsibility. Is I'm going to put all of the responsibility on this one party, and I'm going to remain the same. So when we talk about walking away, I think that everybody has their point, right? Like you can be in a relationship and you can, it's been a year, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, but at some point, if actions never change and we keep going through the same words and the same I'm sorry, then I think that you should get the ability to say, okay, you know what, enough is enough.
Right, that's true, because here's the thing. My mom said something to me a long time ago, and I really govern myself by this as much as possible. I use the word I apologize very sparingly, because I make an earnest attempt to mean what I say and say what I mean and do exactly what I'm doing, instead of having to go back, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, get a grip on you. Get a grip on you. You shouldn't live a life of I'm sorry all the time. You need to get a handle on whatever that is that you saying you sorry about, because you're starting to be sorry, whatever that means, if that makes sense. So, if people are constantly saying, oh, I'm sorry, I had another hiccup, oh, I'm sorry, oh, that something is wrong with that's an internal issue, not an external issue. Denise, I see your wheels spinning over there. Talk to us, Denise.
Oh, my wheels are spinning.
Yeah,
Oh, I
know you.
well, like I said, I just like, communication is everything, and that we just have to be really mindful. And like Adrian was saying, as far as about, we are just motivated by a lot of the wrong things. We're motivated by the sex. If we don't, if somebody doesn't the routine to be cut off, or if somebody doesn't want to be cut off, then they will go along with a lot. They can tend to go along with some things. And we just have to be mindful that our personal peace is what we just have to preserve that. And we just have to be really mindful. As like even the word says, guard your heart. You really have to guard your heart and be mindful of why you came, why you're really in the relationship with someone. And I think we also have to stay mindful of, that we don't have to, we're not in jail. We're not in anybody's jail. We don't have to be in a situation where we're miserable. And if we're making someone else miserable, that can be obvious as well.
That's
And
very
we just
true.
have to be mindful that relationships are not jail. I mean, if you're married, then you've got another complication because you just can't bail on a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess that's a consideration too. Are we really? What are we talking about here tonight? Are we talking about just that relationship phase, or are we talking about a marriage?
I mean, really, we're talking about all of it because all of it,
Yeah.
no matter what level you are within a relationship, there's going to be some kind of difficulties and some kind of challenges. And I like how you said a relationship is not a jail. I remember probably like maybe 2 months ago, Charles was talking about it is a privilege to have your person, and we shouldn't take people for granted.
Mm.
The fact that that person is in our
Right.
life, we need to remember that we are benefiting and blessed by that person's presence in our life and not take that person for granted. And I think a lot of this comes into that to where people get a little bit too comfortable. It's almost like if y'all ever read that book, Who Moved My Cheese? When they got comfortable, but the
Mm-hmm.
other two, Sniff and Scurry had their shoes on at all times. Him and Hall, they took their shoes off, they relaxed and chilled out. But Sniff and Scurry, they had their tennis shoes around their neck, suggesting that there's always more to be done. There's always more to get done. This is not the finish line. We're not doing it to the finish line. We're doing it as a relay. We're gonna keep running and we're gonna keep running and we're gonna keep running. We'll pause for certain facets, but when you look at people, we have to stop taking people for granted that are in our lives also. Bruce, I see your wheel spinning. Go ahead,
Sure.
Bruce. And then Adrian after Bruce.
I want to piggyback on what Ms. Powell said, and I want to offer not a contradiction, but a different concept. Even though relationships are not a jail, we are in jail.
Mm.
We are in a type of prison. If I can go there, Charles.
All right, go ahead, Bruce.
We are we are in we are in a type of prison. And when you are in a prison, one of the reasons why I can be very patient and merciful and resetting my forgiveness daily, like the brother said, is because we are in that prison. And when I recognize and acknowledge that we are in a prison, I know how to adjust my expectations of the other prisoner.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The prison that we are in, as I say all the time, is what I call the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a prison of white supremacy, as much as we don't like to talk about it. As much as we as a people, we skirt around it. But we are in a system that oppresses us. And especially for us as men, to present ourselves to our woman as though we are whole and complete,
Mm-hmm.
and that we stand in a base of power is just not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real.
Mm.
In this system, in this matrix, or what the Bible calls the world, or what church people call the world,
Mm-hmm.
it does not allow us to
Mhm.
be 100% who we are as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So in my relationship, Coffee, I'm not coming to you as a man. I am a man, but I'm not coming to you as one. I'm really a little boy.
Mm.
The power level that I have is that of a child. Power is the ability to get things done, make things happen. Are we together? Am I talking crazy or y'all feel
No,
what I'm saying?
no, we listening.
We got you. We
Okay, I'm sorry.
Processing it.
As a man, I am not coming to you, Coffee. I'm not coming to you, Miss Jackson, Miss Powell. I'm coming to you with all the looks of a man, but my ability to produce, my ability to make things happen, that's the definition of power. Having the ability to responsibility to make things happen.
Right.
The level of power that I have when I come to you is that of a child, a boy. A boy. That's why I'm a playboy. That's why I have several women. I'm a playboy.
Right. Right.
So, and you, on the other hand, to make it quick, 10 seconds, to make it quick, you as a woman, you are presenting to me like you're a woman, but you're a little girl. You're a gal. You're not coming to me fully equipped and fully powerful because this system has cut your power off at a particular level.
Wow.
I really hope that makes sense.
I get you.
So we understand that when we understand about each other, that we are in prison, that we are on a slave ship together. We are on plantations together in 2019. We will have a different approach when it comes to being merciful and forgiving and understanding of each other when it comes to expectations.
Denise is trying to ask you something, Bruce. Go ahead, Denise.
I'm about to choke over here. Bruce, I really get where you're coming from. However, I believe deep down in my soul that even though, yes, we have these realities that are kind of put out there for us, but we have the power at any given time to declare that that's not our truth. We're not anybody. We're not enslaving to anyone. We do control our destiny. It's a lot. It's not easy, but I don't really embrace that as a healthy state of mind to feel like we're imprisoned or anything. I think that we do have to fight against that mentality, but
Exactly.
I just think we just need to work much harder to get into.
I totally understand, and when I say these things, I say these things often, Ms. Powell, and I get the same reactions. I'm saying these things like metaphorically, like like I know, like literally we're not slaves. However, we really have to look at the evidence. The evidence is why we're having this conversation tonight. Our relationships and the things that affect our relationships. Why our relationships are not successful. But I don't want to stay there too long, but that's a whole nother show. You know what I'm saying? I just want to add that concept to kind of shake up the conversation a little bit.
Well,
So go ahead, Adrian, and then Tanel. Adrian, and then
sometimes
Tanel.
when I get on here, I gotta make sure I order my thoughts, and keep it logical because y'all hit me with some powerful stuff. But I'm gonna go back to my queen from Illinois. I don't remember your name yet. I'm bad with names, but I'm from Danville, Illinois.
It's
Toenail.
Tanel.
Because I'm from Danville, Illinois originally, so I'm always my fellow Illini. So I was thinking about what you were saying, and you were saying, how you got, and I'm gonna quote Mr. Dixon himself because he copywritten everything, and cheating occurs when self-discipline fails and alternative access is offered. And when I'm thinking about cheating, I'm not thinking about just physically, or I'm thinking about mentally and every other way. And I said on his post that this is good for the cheater and the cheatee because when you're the cheater, everybody's already looking at you like, oh, you did wrong, you gotta fix it, da 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 da. But also, as a cheatee, you have to remember there's certain actions that you took that contribute to this action. Everybody thinks this is just an act of selfishness. Oh, I needed this, and so I did it. No, you're fulfilling something inside you. So as the cheatee, you also must have changed your thought process and how you react to everything. You can't just say, oh, just because I cheated on Thursday or I went gambling on Thursday and my schedule said late on Friday, or the boss said whatchamacallit on Friday, doesn't mean I can tell him no and I can't change this. Now, I may call you or you may call me just to verify, but if that's what you need to be successful, I think that everybody needs to look at what you need to be successful. There's a term out there that I despise called happy wife, happy life. And I think that is just taken really out of context. Because this guy yesterday, I was saying, I'm at the point in my marriage where I'm like, if it's not worth arguing about, I just let it go. Like I tell everybody, I said, I've got a nice house. My wife can paint this mug black and purple for all I care, as long as she leaves this man cave alone. And she goes, and it's just because that's how my thought process. It's not that I, don't have an opinion about it, or it's not worth the discussion to me. And so it's not just trying to make her happy or just keep my peace. It's just not worth the effort to go up. And so when a woman nags, it depends. Are you nagging for the betterment of this family or this unity? Or are you just making noise for something that you cannot change? And so then I'm going to go to my sister in Atlanta and say, no, we're not in the jail, but we made a commitment. My boo, she said the other night, and she was just joking. She said, oh, if I try to, because we watch Snap, right? And so she was like, if I try to kill you, I'd poison you, right? But I said, so you gonna sit there and let me watch me die and just choke it? She goes, no, I'm gonna call the ambulance because I want you saved. But now for the rest of your life, you're gonna be thinking about she tried to get me. And I said, I can't leave. She said, no, for better or worse. For better or worse. And yes, we were playing, we were joking, but there's something in that. People forget that line to your vows. I'm not saying that you got to take punishment. I'm not saying you need to take abuse. I'm not saying all that. But just because you're not happy now does not mean a week from now you will not be happy. What you got to look at is, why am I not happy now? Now I can see if you have been going through this for 10 years, you might have a point. If you've been going through this for 1 year, I'm going to tell man or woman, suck that up, because how long you been together? I've been together for 20 years, and we had some rough years. You know what I'm saying? But we wouldn't have made it 20 if I said them rough years, I'm frustrated, I'm tired. I tell my wife, I love you every day. Today, I might not like you.
There you go.
There might be why I don't like her.
That's true.
I love her every day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fight.
You said a mouthful there.
Right.
Good stuff.
All right.
I think.
point.
Oh,
Right. Mr. Dixon, Tanel was going to say something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Adrian, and then you.
All right.
Okay. Well, real quick, I wanted to piggyback on what Bruce said and then make this point, and I'm going to get out the way. So one thing is, again, Bruce, when you were talking about the little boy and the little girl, like at that point, it kind of, the fact that they're both at the same level, it cancels out whether it's a grown man, a grown woman, little boy, little girl, they're on the same level. So at some point, to me, what it bounces back to is accountability. Like at some point, we have to understand that we have to be accountable regardless of what else is going on, because there are going to be situations that you cannot change. So you can't keep on, and when I say you, I don't mean you specifically, but I'm saying we can't keep on coming up with a reasoning, justification, ramification, whatever words you want to use, as to how come I can't be the partner that I signed up to be. It's always going to be something like, as a man, of course, you're going to defend the man. As a woman, I'm going to defend the woman. But the fact of the matter is that if we come together, then we are supposed to be on the same page, which goes back to what we started at the top of the hour, which is communication. So when we're talking about is what we have worth salvaging, to me, the way that you answer the question is this. First of all, when you came into the relationship, were you both on the same page as to what it was you were trying to accomplish? Because many times people don't even talk from the onset. Many times they don't even know, they're not even in agreement with the reason why they came together, whether it's as a relationship or as a marriage. They don't agree why they came together. So when things start getting rocky, then it's like, okay, if I came to this relationship because I want a family, and I came to this relationship because I want to travel, when things start getting rocky, then I'm just looking at my own, you see what I'm saying, like what I put into it. And so if I'm not getting it from me, because at some point, it's not supposed to be about me and mine anymore. It's supposed to be about us and ours. And if 5, 10, 20 years down the road, we still talk about me and mine, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And then that might not be able to be salvaged because your mentality is not salvageable if you're still talking about me and mine when we're
Right.
in a relationship. Because, yes, you still have your own individual identity, true. But if you're in a marriage, that's supposed, because I don't know, we talked about both of them. But if you're in a marriage, it's supposed to be about us and our. And if you're still talking about the me over the we, then I don't know if that's going to be salvageable. Just
That's
one
good
Mm.
woman.
stuff. That's good stuff.
That's
Mr.
good.
Dixon,
Mm.
Mr. Dixon, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Sitting back listening to a lot of people, and even when I went back to listening to you talk about 529's comment, I think the one of the biggest issues here, just listening to everyone, is that we are living in a very dismissive era.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, and the reason we are dismissive is something like when I'm listening to Tonil talk, and this is how I see this. Accountability, integrity is always in order, right?
Right.
But timing plays a part here. Back in the day, years ago, there were certain levels of things men and women had to deal with, and it was like seasons in and out, positive, negative. Now, in this era that we live in, everything can be obtained in order just like that. You can, and so what's happening is, like Bruce says, there is this world going on with people, and everybody knows, hey, it almost makes you feel like, even in marriages and relationships, wait a minute, am I wasting too much time? Hold on, because I need to jump in there where everybody else is, because there's plenty of options and plenty of everything else attainable to me if I access it. And so now what it's doing is it's putting everyone's integrity on trial. Everybody is being tested. And so it's the reason why you got people in marriages that are leaving because they're saying, well, you know what? I didn't sign up for all of this. And I asked somebody once, what is all of this? And they said to me, well, the way he be doing all this and he just don't be paying me this and not doing this. I said, well, is he cheating? Is he hitting you? Is he doing this? No. Well, where are your grounds? And so she was like, well, I'm over it. So we got all these simple decisions and reasons as to why we are breaking. And to be honest, I asked her this one question. I said, tell me this. Who's on the other side? She said, what you mean? I said, nobody runs unless there's a fire. Where are you going? To the fire. Another guy was there. She admitted it. So my point is, we do this because no one just really, unless you're getting beat upside your head or terribly cheated on, people just really, and sometimes they stay then, but people just don't up and say, I'm going to leave my comfortable life and go out here unless I have a softer place to land. That's how we do today. And so people need to understand that things work better when they are broken in. I have heard people say in times, man, I went to buy this car one time and I said, this is really nice, but it got 100,000 miles. And the guy said to me, he said, look, I'm not going to pull your leg. He said, this motor, if you change the oil, it can go over 250, 300,000 miles. He said, so the car is really riding beautiful right now. What he was saying in that, I got from that, I was like, wow. So we always think brand new and let me get this few miles and it's not going to be good. But what he was saying is, look, let the thing break in. Let the problems occur. Let the resets happen. That's when you begin to get in your flow of a smooth relationship. And, I have the saying where I say, look, a tested love is a resilient and beautiful realization. If you don't have a tested love, you don't have anything. You just have a person, you have a prepaid partner. You piss me off. As long as you make me happy, I'm good. You piss me off, I'm dismissive. And that's the way we are today. We play to play. If you do what I need you to do, pay me enough attention, buy me a little bit of this, I'm around. Text me right, I'm around. If you don't, guess what? I'm going over here. And that's the mindset. No one has that, I'm going to fight and stay. Let's make this work. I see value in you. Maybe we need to tell each other that. I don't want you to go because I see value in you. That's why. I want to continue to rehab you because I see you have beautiful bones. If we tweak all these things about us, it'll be beautiful. But a lot of people don't do that today.
That's very true. So I'm gonna go back to the comments because they are firing off in the comments, guys. Kelly Reagan says, no matter what has happened in the relationship, cheating is still a choice. And she put that in big letters. Katonia says, sounds about right. We should pick and choose our battles with our mates
Yeah.
because some
And
stuff is simply not worth the anguish equal cause. Then let's see. Kamisha says a half of a man and a half of a woman can't make a whole relationship. Ain't that the truth? Sugar says if you're not going to leave them for what they're doing, then it makes no sense to keep nagging about it. Accept her, him, or reject them. Some things are pet peeves and some things are deal breakers. Pet peeves is who they are. They won't change. That's so true. And then Fine says accessibility. I can easily find someone else with a click of a button. The world is my oyster. Absolutely. And that's so unfortunate. We live in, and then Deidre says, we live in a disposable world, relationships too. Kelly says, but people should not jeopardize losing what and who they claim to love. That's the truth. Jarvis says, it's like he knows her. And then let's see. Kamisha says, complacency is a dangerous place in a marriage / relationship. And then Sugar went on to say narcissism based on what Charles was saying. She said narcissism. Mr. Dixon, we are at the top of the hour. It is 8:58 in the PM time.
Yes.
Can you go ahead and start driving the car back into the station, please?
Okay, I will. But can you go back to read Kelly's post comment one more time, and then we're gonna shift the thing around.
You
Go
talking
back
about
to
the
Kelly.
one about the relation about cheating being a choice?
Correct.
Okay,
All
hold
right.
on a second. Hold on. I'm
No,
gonna read it. I'm gonna read it the way she said it. I want to coin it,
Yes.
copywritten.
All right.
No matter what has happened in the relationship, cheating is still a choice in capital letters.
Absolutely. Now I'm gonna tell you what I've learned. Cheating, and women, don't beat me up, don't get mad, but I've learned this. Cheating is a choice as long as we're doing the cheating. When the woman gets caught cheating, it's an excuse because you did something wrong. It's no longer a choice. It's a default of something you fell short of. And it's never, I'm like, where's your choice? It's a choice to you too, right? You have a choice to go deal with the dude, but you do it. And so this is the mindset we have. It's that blame game. And so cheating is a universal issue. Women do it, to be honest, they're doing it more than us today, if you want to be honest. But again, when you confront them, it's no longer the choice thing. It's a choice because you're passionate about a remembrance of pain. We get it. I have it myself. Happened to me before, so I understand. But when we have that remembrance of pain, it's like, oh, it's a choice. Yes, it's a choice, but it's a choice for you too. So when it comes to women, as long as you guys can say, you know what, I'm gonna own it. I was bogus. I exercised the choice that was outside of the bounds of what we were doing. Fine, right? Cool. We can do that. We can rock. But I don't like when it's like the blame. It's a choice because the man does it. But when it's the woman does it, it's an excuse because you didn't do something. So that's all. Now, all right.
All right. Are you okay, Mr.
That
Are you
took
okay,
me
Mr.
somewhere else
Dixon?
tonight.
You all right,
Anyway,
Mr. Dixon?
I'm
You
fine.
seem like you got a little emotional about that,
I'm
Mr.
fine.
Dixon.
That took me somewhere. I had some thoughts.
You need some. You
Anyway,
need. Do we need to call in Dr. Cheryl
I'm
to give you some
good. I'm
therapy?
good.
You gonna be okay?
Yes. All right, Adrian. Take them on in with some. Give the folks some. We're gonna go from you, and we're gonna go right on over, and we're gonna end with P. Call. We're gonna slide from person to person. We're gonna go with you. Give us some go out nuggets, some quick nuggets to encourage the people in this fight that we're having today.
Right. Remember, Huey P. Newton said that power is the ability to define phenomenon and make it act in desired manner. Meaning, the only real power that we have in any life is a choice. Yes, we do. We have a choice. You have a choice in cheating. You have a choice in staying. You have a choice in quitting. And you have a choice in fighting. But there's also a reason you made every choice. If you cheated, there's a reason behind that choice. There's something missing or something lacking or something, a need that would make you cheat. If you stay, you have to see the value in your relationship. Every relationship has value. But if that person increasingly shows you that you don't have any value, that's when it's time to go. And I'll be honest, me and my wife we hit a tough spot not too long ago. And I thought it may be over. And people mad because I stayed and like you a fool and all this other stuff. But when you love somebody and you look at y'all vision, not your vision. Yes, as a man, we're supposed to lead. But you take your vision for life and you incorporate her wants and her needs. Because right now, me and my baby going to travel the world when I retire. But first we're going to get in the RV. The RV is my vision. And then once we get out that RV, we're going to fly to somewhere with the beach. That's her vision. So you come back together, and if you can put your boat back on the same vision, you should mend that. But if you're not feeling the same way, you got to pray about that too. And that's what I think. I'm smart.
All right, Mr. Bruce.
I would say, listen to the brother. There's a difference between being in love and being codependent. I think, like the sister said, we are getting together for the wrong reasons. And most of us are in codependent relationships. And like you said, when that small need or that narcissistic supply is not met, when that ego is not stroked, we're on to somebody else. I believe that the mathematics of the relationship, the value of the relationship, that the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. And the two parts in a relationship, the man and the woman, I believe we are coming to the table not whole. And I believe that we are using church, we are using religion, we are using our salaries, we are using television and westernized ideologies to cover up the fact that there's a part of us that is wounded from this society. And we bring that into our relationships. We are not dealing with the fact that racism, oppression, white supremacist ideologies have affected us deep down in the core, deep in the psyche. And it has made a part of us unhappy and unsettled in who we are as individuals. And then we bring that to the relationship. I believe once we start with the core of that and getting that value properly, we can handle anything else that comes in a relationship because we will value and see each other properly with the proper value. Pause.
Nice. All right. Tunil. Hey, let me get this right. Is it Tunil or Tunil?
It's Tennille, like the captain and Tennille.
Got you. All right. I got it now. That's good. All right.
Yeah, they jack it up all the time, but it's okay. It's no offense taken.
Right.
So it's a couple things. One, I'm gonna bounce back again on what Bruce said about the healing thing, right? Like there are so many people who get in relationships broken, and one of the reasons why separation, divorce, breakup, whatever you want to say, comes into the equation is because if I begin to heal while you're still broken, then I don't want to remain in something that's broken when I'm healed, right? So that's one point. The other point that I want to just kind of conclude with is again, it's called, is what we have worth salvaging, or is it salvageable? My thing is, I don't think it's a universal answer. I said it before and I'll say it again. Every person has to look at their individual relationship because it's easy to say, and I understand what the vows say. Trust me, I get it. For better or for worse, till death do us part. But there are some things that's not cheating, that's not financial issues, that's not physical abuse, that can still break a person down. And when you sadly have somebody encouraging you to stay in a relationship where people are, mistreating you, a friend of mine called it gaslighting, and they're playing tricks with your mind, and you got this emotional suppression, that's not healthy. And so many times we want to stay in a relationship just to be able to say we've been here all these years, to say I got a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, when what else besides all these years do you have to show for it? If there is no growth, if nobody is getting improved, then what's the point of the relationship? And I'm going to end with this, like, if you don't have hope, so when we're talking about the reset button, like, you need to be resetting in the hopes that it's going to get better. Once I lose hope, once I lose belief in you, once I lose my confidence in my partner, I don't think that you're going to change, because I've constantly reset. And to use Adrian's point with the game, every time you reset, you're resetting thinking that you're going to get further along. If I keep dying in the same place, I'm not going to want to keep on. I'm going to lose hope that you're going to get me to the other side. And we're supposed to be in this thing together. So I think that you have to look and see in order to tell whether or not it's worth salvaging. Only you can know what it is you're going through. But yeah, it should be something more than just something that's shallow and more beyond the surface. But only you know if if you can do it.
Right. So Neil, you was on there preaching about the fight tonight.
Girl, I thought
You
I
gotta
was
stop
You know,
casting.
man, I like he took him out. He took my own little.
I got my phone. I said, let me go hit this cash app.
My bad. I talk with my hands.
Actually, I like that's good though.
What's your cash app for the viewers to send you some money on tonight?
All right.
Look, Cash App is APS International.
I know that's right, Mr. Neil. I'm sorry, Miss Denise.
Yes, I would have to say amen and amen again to what Tanil was saying, because I really and truly, the reason I feel like, the reason I had asked before, we talking about marriage or relationships, is because I feel like a lot of times, like the whole reset thing, you can reset too much in, I guess, in a relationship per se, when you're really, I think that is your time to us, that you're still assessing whether you really want to be there or not. And I think that if you keep on, trying to salvage something wherein a lot of times I feel like it's about our level of self-esteem. And if we feel like, well, this is the best we can do, or, that I've just got to stay here, I got to stick in here with this individual. And we just don't necessarily have to do that. Now, Adrian, what you were saying as far as about the commitment in a marriage, I really feel like that's another level of the relationship. But I feel like before you walk down that aisle, that both of you need to be as close to what you are, really trying to get to as possible, and that you both have that willingness to be there and to make those compromises. But just in the course of a relationship, that's still your opportunity to, you still got to get out of jail free card there, I think.
Yeah, you know what, Denise, you absolutely do. However, you do want to see that people can be resilient before you marry them. I mean, if you walk through it just thinking, you know what, I ain't got to deal with this, I'm gonna leave, and it is your right, you could leave, but if you want to, I always tell people we practice what we wish to perfect. So if you want to perfect the longevity, you have to practice resilience. And so we go back to this whole, and you know what, and I know Denise, you're down there in the A, and all these men are like, Denise. So she's just like, but listen, I'm telling you, here's the thing. This is where we get deceived at. There's a million people, nice looking, whatever you call it, but everybody has the same measure of issues. It's just different.
That's right.
You might be Bruce. Bruce might get on your nerves. You go over there to Kevin. He might cook for you and be nice. And after a while, Kevin don't take showers. So it's something. It's going to be something for everybody. So we can't avoid we can't avoid the challenge of confronting issues and resolving them or not. And again, you might a single person, there can be a threshold as to how far you want to go. But if you want to practice, again, perfecting longevity, you have to put in a little bit of time and be fair, unless something is disrespectful to you and devaluing you. Other than that, give it a try. Other than that, we're going to be single forever because it's too easy to be today. There's you could do so many things 6-7 days a week, the same thing, because there's too many options. So unless you say to yourself, look, I'm not going to drive myself crazy. This person here, I really believe they have some value. If I give my 110, I'm going to see what happens. Now, if I do that, and if I gamble too many times and I lose, and I say, you know what, I gave it a good try. But if I don't, but if I put a fair amount in, and most women, if they see the man coming 100, a halfway decent woman will follow him. Now you got some that's gonna try to use him and call him nice and all this kind of stuff. But if he's a halfway decent guy giving 100, they'll try to give their all and compliment him. So my last thing to everybody is, if you see the value in the edifice, keep building it. If you don't see the value, then that's your grounds to leave. But if you see the value, don't quit. So that's all I have to say on that. P-Coffee, you're gonna take us out of here.
Well, I mean, really, you just took my time to talk. I mean, we already talked about this before.
Wait, you done talked about 25 minutes of MC, and go ahead. Just go ahead and dismiss the show. Jeez.
Flag on the play. Flag on the play. Flag on the play. Time out. Bruce, can I get you to put him in his corner? Because he came out fighting. Can you please put a brother in this corner so we can get back to we trying, come on, Man.
Come on, Pete Carter. Come on, take us on out.
Man, I tell you what, man, I just don't feel the love in the room. Man. But I say this all the time, and I kind of say it subtly and leave it on people's mind. But the part of the vows that says "to death do us part" does not necessarily mean physical. So until next time, it's been real, it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. I'm hungry. Everybody can preach sermons tonight.
You can't just say that and leave. You can't just say that little saying and leave.
I got to leave it like that.
Emotional death is just as bad as the physical. All right, let's go. All right.
I got to do it, Charles. I had to let it out. I had to let it go
all
like
right.
that. No, drop
all right, good stuff.
Drop
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
All right, you guys.
Appreciate all y'all.
Next week, same
Good
bad
stuff.
time, same.
Right. Thanks, y'all. That was
Thanks
fun.
for getting that Bruce last minute.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, love and peace, y'all.
All right, Asia. All right, see y'all.
All right, thank you all.
All right.
This was
Thank y'all
fun.
so much.
Okay, bye-bye.